Well, while we take time to honor our veterans today, we also need to have an awareness that many of them deal with PTSD. That includes our next guest, who was awarded the Bronze Star, but his new book is titled The Bronze Scar. Dr. Steve West, retired colonel from the U.S. Air Force and former chaplain to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, joins us this morning in studio. Sir, thank you for your service.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No, definitely. And I know it never gets so old for us to say it, so we hope it doesn't get old to hear it. But let's talk about this. You make it a point in your book that when you were diagnosed with PTSD, I believe it happened when you were at the Pentagon, but it was not one singular event. So explain to people the background, how you found out you had PTSD.
Yeah, it was a number of things. Vicarious trauma, which lots of caregivers have, and that's just hearing things and seeing things that happen to other people, not necessarily yourself. And all the years I served as an EMT, and so those years being in trauma, all the sessions of talking to people, and so they said it wasn't a single incident, it was just a over time progression.
But while you were in Iraq too, you were there during the surge. It was really a push there to get things going there in Iraq under the Bush administration. Right. So you saw things, I'm sure, and heard things from people you were trying to provide therapy to that were very difficult.
Yeah, very much so, because the surge meant there was much more in the way of equipment and personnel, troops. And so a push like that means there's just going to be a lot more people that are injured and die. And
some that you treated,
yes,
you never saw again, right?
That's right.
So now, then you continue service, and you're working as a chaplain for the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and your family though started noticing something different about you, that you did it, and then, so you went to have yourself checked out just to get cleared. What happened?
Yeah, so my wife and daughter had been saying for almost 3 years, you're different. When you came back from Iraq this time, you're not the same person. And so we try to rationalize that kind of thing. We don't want to admit there's something wrong with us. So I said, well, no, I know the signs and symptoms. I've helped people with it. I'm here in the chairman's office. No, I don't have it. But what I did finally, to kind of get them off my back, was to go to Defense Stress Management. They said, we take 3 times to diagnose you or to tell you you're okay. And I wanted that sheet of paper so I could take it to them. They didn't even know I went.
And they knew, but the very first meeting, after asking you a few questions, he knew you had it. So I know that that's been a journey now to writing this book, The Bronze Scar. And your goal here is not necessarily just to talk about it, but how to help people. So for somebody who's watching, a loved one, or maybe it's a veteran out there watching, what do you hope they take from this book? Or is there something from the book that you can tell them now?
Yeah, actually, there's not much out there on how it feels, but you know, we live by feelings. Our actions are by what we feel and the moods and those things. And so the desire of this was for people who have been diagnosed with PTSD to look at it and say, I'm not crazy. I'm not alone. Somebody else feels exactly the way I do when these different things are happening. And then for those who love them and support them, their families and friends, it helps them not to condone some of the negative actions, but to at least say, I at least understand what's going on inside physically and in their head.
And it's so important to talk about, because we know now that on average, at least now the average is at least 17 veterans die by suicide every day. That's on average, and 1 is far too many, so 17 is very alarming. We know people need help. If you want to read more, you can check out The Bronze Scar. It's available on Amazon and other places people can get the books. And by the way, Dr. West goes in deeper dive now into some of the details, what's in his book, and a podcast, Mike Behind the Mic, and that's dropping later today. But sir, once again, we do appreciate the effort you're doing here.
Thank you so much.
All right.
God bless you.
JJ standing by.